Greetings, Commander. You've arrived on Baltarus, and this little video is going to show you all that you need to know to survive the swarm and get all that juicy Baltarite. Let's get into it, shall we? At the start of the game, despite the patch having come out the other day and improving the harvesters greatly, it does make a massive difference to have a human player jump in the harvester, because fundamentally, although it might not get caught on things anymore, the pathing is still pretty bad, right? So ask one of your mates, be like, look, we've only got 2 scouts at the moment, there's only 2 light quads, you can walk around in the desert if you want, or you can help the cause and get a little bonus raise afterwards, right? The quicker those harvesters come in, the quicker those boys get tanks. That's your incentive. Moving on, harvesters are vulnerable. They are massive and chunky and slow, right? And we love them very much, but holy crap, they can't do anything to protect themselves. So keep a couple quads back, because you would be surprised. A single crabling with a dedicated player can kill one of these things easily. And if you have multiple players on the enemy team playing crablings, they will eat your harvesters, and losing these loses you the game. Simple as that. You don't need every quad scouting. Even having a few infantry placed in the rocks correctly can help protect your big chunky boys. So I like to believe in 2 types of recon, and if you have players, one of these is much easier than the other. So the first type is what I call long recon, and long recon will have less units, and is exactly what it sounds like. It is the units that go incredibly far out in search of the deep information you need, right? Where is the enemy base? Where are the choke points? Where are the possible locations that we can be establishing outposts, etc., etc. Short recon is recon located around your base, primarily for the purpose of getting access to those early nodes of resources, but also finding out where the enemy are coming from. The advantage of short recon is that it should always be close enough that if anything suddenly pounces on your base, they can react very quickly. This means that you don't just have units sitting in main not doing anything, they're constantly active. Now, hopefully in the future he adds patrol commands and also the ability to actually jump to units that you have bound to control groups, please, and also queuing orders, anyway, yeah, them ones. So buildings, human buildings kind of suck because they're massive. However, this has an advantage that you can exploit. Simple bug brains will rush towards anything they see. So radar stations are cheap, and they actually take quite a beating. So you can use them as 2 kind of elements in a way. One, they can provide cover for your units to actually use. A good railgun tank sitting behind a building, kiting enemies and peeking when it needs to shoot can do a lot of damage and last a long time. And also, having these cheap buildings up ahead from where you think the enemy are gonna come can actually allow you more time to process and react to what's happening, because I guarantee you they will stop to destroy that building every single time, okay? Bug brain, not smart, okay? Refineries. You need to be spamming these, okay? There's a concept of just eco that exists within RTS games, and the more eco you have, the more units you can have, the more buildings you can have, the more you can put out, and the more you can kill. And on that note, there is no unit cap, so go wild, get 50,000 minerals a minute of eco and just build so many tanks that the bugs will regret ever even genetically evolving into existence. All right, pulverize them down to the atomic level. No, but seriously, you can't ever have too many harvesters. In a good game, we've had some great games recently, but in a good game of human, I will have about 8 harvesters by the time the game is over. And yes, that does lead to points where it's like, they're going all over the map, but that's good because the enemy will have loads of units running everywhere. You will need to be going further to get resources. So having more harvesters means that if you do lose a harvester or 2 or 3 or 4, it doesn't matter, because you have another 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Build refineries. They come with a free harvester. get them out early on. Honestly, the first thing you could do is push to have 3, maybe even 4 refineries, and then you can pivot all the way into heavy tanks. So throughout the map, you will find small structures. These structures are little bunkers, and they are one of the most OP things you can activate early on in the game, because the enemy won't have a plethora of spicy units just yet, meaning that you can run up to these bunkers, which will be white dots on the map, and they'll go blue. And what do? Well, one, if your human players decided that they want to walk on the sands of Baltaros instead of drive, which is an odd decision, and they get jumped, maybe they're close enough. Maybe they can jump into one of these bunkers and find refuge. But more importantly, they provide map vision, and they have guns. And guns are good. And that's all you need to know. You should be activating every single bunker you find. If you're a commander and you have players, mention it to them in team chat. Be like, hey guys, if you find bunkers, please activate them. Or even tell a guy to just go out for the sole purpose of finding and activating bunkers. If you can get all of these online, you can give yourself as the human player huge amounts of space and knowledge early on that can slow down the initial harassment or even later harassment from bugs, forcing them to have to deal with these bunkers, delaying their attacks, delaying their harassment, and giving you more time to get to the juicy tanks. A little additional tip: for the love of all things good, build a barracks near to your headquarters. There is nothing more toxic than when you're a player and you spawn in and the commander has decided that he wants you to do a 400-meter sprint across the open sands to get to where you can choose a class. Make your players' lives easier. Allow them to just spawn in, barracks is right there, grab a class, teleport into the action, because having them be able to pick up a rocket launcher or a commando kit or a marksman is so much more valuable than either having them go into battle as a scout or waiting around in base for a vehicle to come along. A building that I'm now starting to see used a lot more and a lot more effectively is the headquarters. Now, one side, it allows your troops, if your players die, to respawn closer to the front. That's nice. But any new headquarters still boasts the HP amount of the initial headquarters and a barrage of guns. This means that they actually serve very well as effectively forward defensive emplacements. You can place these down in positions where, one, you think the bugs might come to both slow them down and inflict some damage, but two, also just for map control and vision. This provides you a little bastion, and later on in the game, I tend to replace the radar stations with headquarters. You know, once your eco is incredibly strong, all your harvesters are coming in, this is what you should be doing with overflow. But additionally, we've done it. The harvesters are en masse. They're producing like crazy. Your players and your vehicles have done their job. They've held off the harassment of the bugs. If you've played your cards right, you have now reached the stage of just absolute annihilation. This is where it can become very hard to stop a human player. Heavy vehicle factories. Now, some people might be saying, oh, but bro, build the super heavy and get siege tanks. Siege tanks are not where it's at in any way, shape or form. A single crabling can destroy a siege tank way faster than it makes sense. At the moment, in the current version of the game, do not build siege tanks. Maybe one or two just to flex on your opponent and absolutely slap him. But the real juice comes from the fact that you can just mass produce railgun tanks, hover tanks, and also the dreaded rocket launcher. These units are super powerful. And when you get to a point where your eco is just super strong, build a fuck ton of heavy vehicle factories and constantly push out units all the time. You don't even need to be thinking about the fight, because if you've got players in your lobby, they will be taking the tanks and doing their thing. Aliens can come from anywhere, and that means that at all times you need to be keeping units at base for you to be able to react quickly to defend your base or angles, and combine that with good recon. Have units placed around your base in every angle, and I do mean every single angle, because a good alien player will attack you from everywhere. If you see 5 Goliaths and a bunch of Scorpions coming down a cliff, react to it, but remember, there might be 3,000 Crablings coming from the other side of your base, because there's no fucking unit limit. And that's it for the humans. There's my tips. Guys, I'm not going to repeat it, but I'll repeat it. If you think I missed anything, if you think I fucked up on any of the tips, let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and naturally, as I always say, come by Twitch and join us, because that's where the spiciest juice happens and where I tend to spit absolute facts and make absolutely dope ass plays. All right, the stream is goated, the players in the lobbies we play with are goated. I have been your host, Wizard. I love you all and have a lovely day.